Hey guys, what's going on? Jack from superstringinglax here. Today we review Moon Mesh. So Moon Mesh was the winner of the Snapchat contest we had. What we did was we said screenshot the next two meshes, either Maven Mesh or Moon Mesh, and Moon Mesh won that. I think it got like 20 screenshots compared to the like 18 for Maven Mesh. So Moon Mesh is what we're going to be reviewing first. If you guys haven't already added me on Snapchat, we do exclusive giveaways and behind the scenes looks. You can take a look at my Snapchat username right now. Perfect. Alright, so now let's get into the Moon Mesh. So if you don't already know, Moon Mesh is made by a company known as High Tide Lacrosse. High Tide Lacrosse is owned by a man named CJ. He's in college, I believe, and he seems like a really nice guy, and he's really funny, and he makes great videos. So if you haven't already checked him out, his Instagram is at High Tide Lacrosse, and his YouTube is High Tide Lacrosse as well. So last week we were featured on his shout out segment, and we were really honored to do so, and then he contacted me and asked me to review his Moon Mesh. So his Moon Mesh retails for $11, just the basic Moon Mesh. So it comes in really nice packaging. It comes in just a, a clear package, as all of them do, and then with this header card, it says High Tide Lacrosse Moon Mesh. It says on the back, fast break-in, superior hold, and weatherproof. So taking the mesh out of the package, I can immediately tell, first of all, it's a Gym-Lax base, and it smells nice, but it smells a little bit like chemicals. So I don't know what he's waxing in, but it smells a little bit suspicious. But just by touching the mesh, you can feel right away that it's very similar to an ECM black, not too waxy, kind of waxy, but not super waxy. And then what I've seen so far is great shape retention. It's great shape retention, and it seems to be really, really nice. Also notice that there is absolutely zero flaking at all. So in addition to his regular 9 diamond, 10 diamond Moon Mesh, 15 millimeter, whatever you want to call it, he also has a 12 diamond goalie mesh that retails for $17. So you can check out both of those if you're a field player or if you're a goalie. The message of High Tide Lacrosse really is similar to ours, and that's why we appreciate High Tide Lacrosse so much. It's great services, great products for a low price. He loves Tribe 7 because they offer low prices but still good quality gear. And I would have to agree with him on that one. And so I'm really, we appreciate all the work he does to make his Moon Mesh, because it just gives another option for people who don't want to dish out as much money for other kinds of mesh. You look at his goalie mesh, it's only $17. You look at, say, Grizzly Mesh, which is like $35, $40. It's a big difference, and for someone who doesn't have the money, it's really going to hurt you. So CJ does a great job at offering his mesh at a really low price, and we really appreciate everything that he does. But all that aside, I have to test this mesh completely unbiased, so I'm going to put this to the full test. First thing I'm going to do is test how waterproof it is. Alright guys, so you know the routine. Now we're going to put this under water, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit later to see just how waterproof it is. So it's definitely a semi-soft mesh. Really feels nice in your hands. And of course it's a Gym-Lax base, so you know it's going to be a quality mesh. So the shape retention is fantastic, like I said. It's really one of the nicest wax mesh I've seen for a really low price. So now let's get this under the water test. It's kind of hard to see, but I think you can kind of see it. The water is just completely 200% dripping off of the mesh. So that's really awesome. So all I'm going to do is just shake it, and you can see the water just drips right off of it. So after I shake it out a little bit, let's see how the mesh is. So the mesh isn't as good as some wax meshes I've seen at 200% repelling the water. It is absorbed a little bit, but the majority of the water is knocked off. The majority of the water is not going to be into your mesh and received in your mesh, but there is some that is still absorbed into the mesh, so it's not as good as some of the meshes I've seen at being hydrophobic, but it's definitely going to do a better job than most of your performance meshes and the majority of your regular non-coated meshes. Alright guys, so now I'm back. I'm going to give a completely honest review of the Moon Mesh. So I decided to string it up in a head and test it out. You can see a couple shots of that now. I was just throwing it against the wall trying to get a feel for it. I really like Moon Mesh. I think so. First of all, the price point, $11, you can't beat that. Definitely a for the price point. Definitely gonna give it an A rating for the price point. Not an A+ only because I do know a couple meshes that are cheaper, including a mesh that's probably going to be contending with CJ pretty soon. Bluegrass Strings, Will Barlow over at Bluegrass Strings. I'm getting his mesh pretty soon to review, and we'll leave it at that. I'm not going to say any more about that till the video, but it's less than $11. So I'm going to give it an A for the price range because that's really good, but it's not the best. Stringability, definitely A. Very simple. Could be a little bit better. I thought some of the burning on the top of the mesh was it was fraying, the strings at the top, the knots at the top, but definitely an A for, at the very least, for the stringability. And then performance-wise, it was solid. It was a very solid mesh. Like I said, it's not 100% hydrophobic, but it does its job best it can to prevent all the water from getting into the mesh. Definitely cuts it, I'd say, 80% of the water out, which is awesome. So A, without a doubt, for the mesh repelling water. So the overall range, I think I'm going to give it around a A-, B+. The reason for that is I thought just the display of the mesh packaging was a little bit subpar. Packaging wise, I'm probably going to give it a D+. It was solid. I understand he's not working with a ton of funds, and this isn't his, it's not like he's selling out of this mesh so he can keep putting more funds into the product itself. But it was solid, so I'm going to give it a B+ on packaging wise. Endurance, I played with this for about a week, and it started to get a little bit beat up. Not as nice as some other meshes. I'm going to give it a solid B+, A- for that. B+, A- range, so a little bit leaning more towards the B+, and that does not mean it's bad in the slightest. This mesh is one of the best meshes I've seen from the price point, especially since he's not working with a ton of funds like, you know, East Coast Dyes or Thronins. So definitely a B+, but don't look at that negatively. It's a really solid mesh, and I encourage you guys to pick it up. If you guys just want a couple of solid pieces of mesh, if you don't want to spend the $20 or even more for some pieces of wax mesh, definitely give CJ a call or contact him through his Instagram. His website is going to be up on the screen right now, and you can see all the amazing things that he offers there. Like I said, his goalie mesh and his 12-diamond goalie mesh and his basic wood mesh. So that's it for this video, guys. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Have a great day.